Well, hi everyone. My name is Pastor David. I'm the pastor at Woodbury United Methodist Church.
And my name is Jason. I'm a pastor at Home Church.
And yeah, today we're going to continue what we've been doing for a few weeks now, which is looking at each of these I am statements of Jesus in the Gospel of John, where he says, I am the bread of life, or I am the light of the world. And in this case, we're going to be looking at John chapter 14. And in this, you'll hear the line, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so, Jason, if you want to read that for us.
Sure. John 14:1 says this, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the place to where I am going." Thomas said to him, "Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way?" Jesus answered, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you will know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him and have seen me."
Well, thank you. As we were kind of looking at this passage a little bit, it's always, it's easy to forget sometimes it's a conversation and there's multiple people here and Jesus is doing most of the talking. But you highlighted when we were chatting a little bit before that Thomas is the other one who kind of speaks up here. And you want to say a little bit more about Thomas in this passage?
Yeah, I think growing up in the church and Sunday school and things like that, I heard the phrase doubting Thomas, and so had this idea of what Thomas was like, and basically that he doubted Jesus. And I think the older I've gotten and the more the longer I've walked with Jesus and more questions I've had myself, I really come to appreciate Thomas and how it can be difficult to voice our ignorance or ask questions that maybe we're supposed to know the answer to. And here Jesus says, "You know the place where I'm going," and Thomas says, "Actually," about that, he says, "We don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way?" And it's to that question where Jesus responds is said, "I am the way and the truth and the life." And so one of these I am statements in John, um, we get to hear because Thomas says, "Jesus, we don't know. We maybe should know. We've been following you for a while, um, but we don't know that." And so just how many times um, have we not voiced that we don't know? And when we do that, when we ask the hard questions, when we say, "God, I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're doing. Why am I here? Where are you?" Um, we give him the opportunity to meet us in that space,
Yeah.
and I love that, and yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's such a good point, and especially like I feel like personally, like I don't want to display my ignorance. I mean, yeah, I
Sure.
recognize that feeling that you were just naming, and it's like I don't want to show too much of my like internal life, but it's like this passage starts with Jesus saying, "Do not let your hearts be troubled." Like he already knows their hearts are troubled. That's why he's saying this, and so for Thomas kind of
Yeah.
to be like, this is somebody who knows me better than I know myself. Like I'm not gonna try to hide what I don't know anymore and just be upfront with it and name it and say, yeah, I don't know this. New knowledge would be great, Lord. And like he
Sure.
gets that. And
Yeah.
it's such an amazing
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We see this character of Jesus too when he is. This conversation comes at the Last Supper. Jesus has just washed the feet of the disciples, and he's also just predicted his betrayal. And it's a precursor. He's about to give his life to be executed. And he's saying, in the midst of this, when he's going to actually have the harder road ahead, at least immediately, he's saying to them, do not let your hearts be troubled. He's in this place of betrayal. He's in this place of he's about to die, and he's comforting them. And it's like, that's a really says something about Jesus that so caring.
Well, and especially we've been looking at in Woodbury. We've been looking at the Gospel of Mark, and this last Sunday we looked at one of the passages around where he says, like, he predicts his own death, and we were looking at one of those passages, and right after each time, and he does it a few times in Mark, and he's always afterwards then like talking about obedience. That's the next thing, and it's like, yeah, you can't refuse this kind of end. Like, this is what the road that I'm walking on looks like, and so come follow me on that road. Be humble. Don't try to be the greatest person in the room, but be the best servant in the room, and that's where greatness is. And he's like, it's all about obedience. And here in John, Jesus is like, yeah, I'm gonna go die. And John brings our attention to like how Jesus speaks to our hearts in that. Like, he's not ignoring the obedience thing, but it's like we sometimes as Christians, I feel like, can get so caught up in, oh, I have to do this and that. And then it's like, this is the actual Bible getting to like, yeah, obedience, big deal. The Bible has a lot of commandments and things like that. Yeah. But it's like, oh, our hearts and our emotions and how our spirits are doing is a part of this too. And here, like, Jesus is speaking to it. It's like, don't let your hearts be troubled. It's not an easy way. But still, he's like reassuring our hearts within that, because it's not an easy way. And I appreciate that so much.
So good. Yeah. I heard someone say that the I am statements connect with some of the core longings that we have as human beings. And one of the things I saw in this context is Jesus is talking about home. When he's talking about the place I'm going, when he's answering Thomas's questions, he's saying, or actually before that, he says, I'm going to prepare a place for you. In my Father's house there are many rooms. And I don't know if you grew up with the King James version of the Bible, but the translation in the King James is, I go to prepare a place for you in my... It talks about mansions instead of rooms, and mansions meant something different in King James's day than it does now. But I grew up like planning my mansion in heaven, and remember talking with other kids like, mine's gonna be like this, and even remember some hymns. I think it's mansion over the hilltop or something like that. And maybe it's like that. I don't know that we get that as much from the Bible, but the focus here seems to be on relationship, on being part of God's family, living in God's house, and how we have that desire for home, that desire for family. That's one of the things that we talk about. Our name is Home Church. For that reason, it's this desire for a spiritual home and God's invitation into that family. And so and I love that he's not saying, I go to prepare a place for everyone, or even anyone. He's very specific. I go to prepare a place for you. It's almost like he's personalizing that. It's not generic. It's, I'm going to prepare a place for you, and that's... Jesus is at the end of his life, the end of his mission and ministry and all those things, and he's saying, this is why I came, that you may have life. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. I'm going to prepare a place for you, and just that desire for home is met in Jesus.
And I love too that desire for home and the conversation around it happens on the road, like, or the way in the language here. Like, absolutely. It's, they are, like you said, it's in this context, the Last Supper's right around here, the prediction of Jesus' death. Like, it's very much, all these stories are in the context of, like, this cross is coming, and this is the way that he is on. The way that he is on. It's the next step that's coming here. But where that way leads is this life at the end, and it leads to glory, and it leads like the whole way. And I love that middle word in there is the truth, and it's like the way doesn't just lead to a good place, but it is true the whole time, even when it's hard, and especially in the context of that, like it's not suddenly the wrong way or a false way because Jesus goes to the cross. Like, no, it's still, that's truth. And it's what his life is truth, and us following him is where we find truth in our lives. And that truth, even on as hard as that way can be, that's the way that leads to life. And like in the end, it's life with the Father. And like you said, it's this relationship, and it's life more abundant, as he puts it in another place. And I've come to have life and life more abundant, or that you may have life and life more abundant. And it's I love where this way leads. It leads to the Father and life with him.
It's so rich. He's not getting us out of suffering or pretending that suffering doesn't exist, or that we won't experience that as his followers. But he's also saying it doesn't have the last word. We're not going to end in suffering. And so it's I love the truth of that. It's not this avoidance, but there is life in it, and there's life beyond it, and just a really beautiful thing, that Jesus has room for our whole human experience, and not just the good parts.
Yeah. Well, and he's saying all that right here to Thomas. Like, Thomas, you.
Yes.
It's so specific. It's like, this is a word for you, and it's just as specific to us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us again. We've got another week or two in this.
Yeah. 2 weeks until Easter now, or less than 2 weeks now. So.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all. Have a blessed day.